What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and up next I have a huge unboxing here, including one package that took about a month to get here. So I've got about $12,000 in books I'm going to unbox, and then I'm going to go over some keys related to some of the books in here to see which ones look undervalued. So stay tuned. Alright, so before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. So like I said, I've got a big unboxing here. There are 4 different boxes, a bunch of really cool books in here, and then there's a few actually that are part of the keys that I'm going to talk about later in this video, and we can see which ones look undervalued. Might be worthwhile to look at picking up right now, or at least start watching. So the first box that I'm going to open here, this is the one that took about a month, I think a little over a month to get here. So this one you can see Australia Post. So came from Australia, came a long ways, and whenever that, it's got to go through customs and all that kind of stuff. And but there is a really cool book in here. So I am very excited about this one. And let's see, the boxes are a little different than the USPS boxes, but my biggest fear is that I've heard with customs, it's happened to some people before, where customs has cracked open slabs. Like they think someone's hiding contraband or something like that, like inside the slab, and they'll crack open the slab. And I really hope that didn't happen, because yes, this is a slabbed book, and man, that would suck, because it's not just a slabbed book, it's a signed book, and so it's a verified signature book, and if you have that book broken out of the slab, you lose that verification. So now, based on how everything's packed, it doesn't look like they went into the slab itself, but yeah, it's packaged very well to survive that the overseas trip and everything. But oh yeah, so this is a beautiful book, and I actually think I don't know if it would improve from a press or not, but it doesn't look like it's been pressed either. So this is Amazing Spider-Man number 15. So the first appearance of Kraven, signed by Stan Lee, and the reason I say it doesn't look pressed is if you can see that kind of those like wrinkles things there, like especially right there. Just it doesn't look like it's been pressed, but the staples make me a little nervous. You run that risk of popping a staple or something if you take a book out and try to go for that higher grade. But there's a little spine split at the top here. I don't know if it would actually get a higher grade or not. It probably wouldn't be worth the risk, but we've got Kraven coming. The actor has been cast, so, and I've been seeing prices in this book drop, and so that's why this is the type of book I want to pick up. I love picking up early Amazing Spider-Man. Those first 20 issues at a minimum just have so many keys in them, lots of his big villains, and this is one of them, and just a cool book. So yes, very happy to pick up that copy, because I had recently sold my copy of 15, and so this is actually an upgrade to that copy. All right, so now this next one, I think this has 2 books in it, that are from, or that I'm going to be talking about later in this video. And let's see here. So this is from Super World Comics. I've talked about them a number of times. I've bought quite a few books from them, because they always have cool books. They sell older books for the most part, and they price pretty aggressively, and that's why I've recommended, if you're looking for books, to go watch their sales. And let's see which ones are in here. So yes, these are 2 of the books that I'm going to talk about later on in this video. The first one is Fantastica Four number 50. And so this is the third appearance of Silver Surfer, his first solo cover. It's like if the background was a different color, it'd probably be a lot more popular book. But that brown, just, you know, it's a weird color choice, but Silver Surfer looks awesome on this cover. Also, you have that block down in the corner about going to college. They could have done without that, and just it would have been a really sharp cover. But yeah, I can see like what kind of hurts this book. It's got this little stain right here, but in general, a pretty nice presenting copy of this book. And then the other book that was in that box was Fantastic Four number 49. And this is one of just my favorite books of all time. I have an 8.5 of this. It is one of my favorite books that I own, and I love this cover. This is the first cover appearance of Galactus and Silver Surfer, and just an incredible cover. I really like this one. And this one, it felt like it was just a cheap price. It's a low-grade copy. You can tell, I mean, spine is all beat up and everything, and it's got lots of just general kind of wear to it, but this is a book that you just don't get an option to purchase below $1,000 very often, and I think this one I got for around $600 or something like that. So felt like a really good deal to me for this book. And from that, you know, I'm going to be talking about Silver Surfer keys. So if you want to stay tuned later in this video, that's what I'm going to be talking about. Now, this box was also from Super World, and there should be, I think, 3 books. I think there's 3 books in this one. And one of them is another, what I call a Silver Surfer key. And so it's actually another one of the books that I'm going to be talking about. And a lot of those books, these Silver Surfer keys, especially from the Fantastic Four run, really went up a lot last year. And they started coming back down, and so that's why I think a lot of them are really good to go after right now, because he's such a popular character. He's one of my favorite characters, and just has some incredible covers and just some great keys with him. So let's see. Now this book, no, this one doesn't have another book from that, but it does have a book from the Fantastic Four run, actually Fantastic Four Annual, and so this is Fantastic Four Annual number 2, which has the origin of Dr. Doom. And so if FF number 5, his first appearance, you know, if that's gotten too expensive, FF number 6, his second appearance, the origin is a great book to go for. And so he's on the cover here. I think this one is around like a 4, you know, maybe something like that, 3.5 or a 4. You can see there's a spine split on the bottom, which is very normal with these square bound books, and it's got this kind of like this reader's crease along the length of the book. But colors actually look really nice with this one, you know, bright colors with this, and just a nice presenting copy of this book. Not a bad book to own with the popularity of Dr. Doom. Then I also have a Golden Age book in here. This is Mystic Comics number 27, which I just think it's a cool pre-code horror cover. You've got these zombies, you know, bringing these 2 people to their his and her coffins, you know. So I just think it's a cool cover. I think it's just a fun cover from the pre-code horror era, and so I decided to pick this one up at one of their sales. And then the last one is actually a DC, I'll call it a key / minor key, and this is Action Comics number 254. And so this is actually the 3rd appearance of Supergirl, but it is also the first time that Superman and Bizarro meet, and it's on the cover. And so that is a cool extra, you know, kind of like a thing, a key for this book. It's just because Bizarro is it's a pretty big part of Superman's history, and so having that first time that they meet is a cool little key with that, and decent looking copy. You know, there's definitely some wear along the spine, but in general, real nice colors, a nice presenting copy of this book. All right, so got one more box here. I don't remember exactly how many books are in here. It feels like a lot. So I think there are 5. I think there are 5 books in this one. And after that, we'll get into those Silver Surfer keys and figure out which ones look like they are undervalued right now. All right, so there are some awesome books in here. Now I was reminded of everything that's in this one. So we'll start from, say, like smallest to largest in this one. And so the smallest one, this was just one I just bought because I felt like it was too cheap for what it is. So this is Strange Tales number 104. And this is actually the first appearance of Paste Pot Pete, which he's just... I think his claim to fame is that he's one of the ones on the cover of Strange Tales 110, which is the first appearance of Doctor Strange. He is also part of the Frightful Four, the equivalent to the Fantastic Four. I think it's Fantastic Four 36 is their first appearance. Don't hold me to that. But so he does actually play a larger role than you might think in kind of like Silver Age Fantastic Four keys. But this is his first appearance, and it was like $100 or like $110, and that just felt too cheap to me for a first appearance of a continuously used character. I mean, this is January 1963. This is early Silver Age, for Marvel at least. And then next one here, and this is another one of the books I'm going to be talking about. And this is one of my favorite covers, and this is Tales to Astonish number 93. And so this is actually the first Silver Surfer crossover, and it's just one of these classic Silver Surfer Hulk battle covers. And they use like that, I mean, it's a slightly different brown. It's like a reddish brown, but they seem to like to use these browns with Silver Surfer. The thing if you can see, I always have really liked about this cover is this detail that they put into his eyes. These like ridges that are on his eyes. I've always thought that's so cool when I saw that in person. If you look at issue 50, they kind of have it. It's like a little bit. It almost just looks like it's from the dot matrix, around his eyes. But it's so much more pronounced in this one. I think it looks really cool with his eyes like that. So this is just, it's kind of like a minor key for him, just being that first crossover, but also just a very popular, just a cool cover. Just that's one that's kind of a cover buy for Silver Surfer. Then next one here, and I have a lower grade copy of this. This is I'm glad to get a nicer copy of this because this is one that has been going up recently quite a bit. And this is Fantastic Four number 25. And so this isn't the first time the Thing and the Hulk fight. That's actually in Fantastic Four 12. So it's technically the second time they fight, but it's the first time it's on the cover. And I guess it's considered more of a battle than in issue 12. But yeah, it's got this cool purple cover. 6.5 is a nice presenting copy. No big creases or anything on this cover. It's mostly just like some spine wear, that kind of thing. But yeah, a very nice presenting copy of this book. Yeah, very happy with that one. So, cool book. This is one that when I was on the show with Bry's Comics a while ago, maybe almost a year ago now, this is one of the books that he had recommended, just because it's also the second appearance of Captain America, so it's got that other key aspect to it, but it's definitely a key book. Now, the next one, this one I wasn't looking to buy this book, but it just, again, it was one that felt way too cheap to me, and this was X-Men number 121. And so this is the first appearance of Alpha Flight, and this is in a 9.8, which for Bronze Age, I love to be able to pick up Bronze Age keys in a 9.8, and this is it is a beautiful copy of this book. Like, you can just tell looking at that spine. I mean, I would almost bet this book hasn't been pressed. I mean, when you look at these spines like this, and they have that roll to it, they often lose that kind of roll when they've gotten pressed. And this is just, this is an incredible copy of this book. So very happy to pick up this one because there have been rumors that we're going to see Alpha Flight at some point in the MCU, and so that's moved these books up a little bit, but I felt like that was a great price for that one, so happy to pick up that book. Now, the last one. This is a huge book. And it is restored. It's a Golden Age book that's restored, and I will be taking a close look at it to see if it's worthwhile to have the restoration removed. It'll be a tough call. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. But this is Vault of Horror number 12. And so this is actually the first issue in the Vault of Horror run. So if you watch one of my prior unboxings, I had a book called War Against Crime number 10. And that's actually the first appearance of the Vault of Horror of the Vault Keeper. So that's 2 issues prior to this, but then they changed the title to Vault of Horror on this issue. And this is a pretty big key in the Golden Age, especially for EC, for pre-code horror. And I mean, I know it's restored, but a 7.0 is a very high grade for this book. Now the tough thing is that I'm guessing what was done is that this was originally in a purple label, old label. When they used to do the slight, so A stood for amateur, not like it does now where it stands for professional. And so this is amateur restoration, slight. So it's probably a C1, but it could be a C2. I don't know. And so it does say small amount of color touch, but I don't know how much there is. And I'll have to take a close look at it to see where that color touch actually is. Because if this could retain about a 4.5 or higher, then it would be worthwhile to have the color touch removed. If it gets lower than that with the color touch removal, like if they had to cut out a large piece or something, then I would rather keep it just as this. I want this book to actually present well because there are so few of these books that look this nice. Now the other really cool thing about this one is that this is the Canadian edition. And that's something that I've talked about recently, that I have been seeing big moves in prices in the Canadian editions of these books, of these pre-code horror type books. I've been seeing big sales, like sales where they're beating the US versions, kind of like what you get with the price variants today. And so the fact that I was able to pick this one up at what I felt like was a pretty good deal, and it was the Canadian edition, and this book does not look like it's been pressed. You can see those dents and things there. It just doesn't look like it's been pressed. And so this one has potential, and I am definitely going to be considering getting this one cracked out and regraded with that color touch removal and see what we get. But yes, very happy with this. Super rare book, and just a very cool book to have, because I've really been going after these Golden Age books lately, and I was very excited. This was one of the ones when I was watching this auction. You know, I never know what I'm going to buy. I'm an opportunistic buyer, and I was hoping I would get a chance to buy this one, and I was very happy that I did. So with that, those are all the books that I picked up, and so now I'm going to talk about some Silver Surfer keys. And so keys that maybe look like they're undervalued right now, potentially. We'll take a look at those, see how they're doing. And so I don't think it's inevitable that we get Silver Surfer in the MCU, but I think a lot of us really hope we will. We want to have that character and Galactus have another chance to be done a little better in the actual MCU. So we're all hopeful for that, but I also think Silver Surfer, just with his general popularity, these are never bad books to buy, especially if you can get them at a decent price. You know, if you're watching current sales and everything like that, and you can get them at a discount, definitely go for it. But let's look at which ones maybe are the best books to pick up right now. So with that, I'm going to talk about 7 different books, and then at the end, we're going to put them all next to each other and do a comparison and see which ones look like they are the most undervalued. Now, the first one is Fantastic Four number 48. This is the first appearance of Silver Surfer, first cameo appearance of Galactus. Extremely desirable book. Just now, they aren't on the cover. They're on their first cover is issue 49, but a very desirable book. The grade that I looked at was the most common grade. It was a CGC 4.5. The price a year ago was $1,350 for that 4.5. Current price is about $2,400, with a record in May of 2021 of $3,249. So this book is up 78% from about this time last year, down 26% from its high. So definitely an interesting book. You know, it's down from those highs. It's a very popular book. Getting it at a discount to the highs, it's reasonable. I think it's definitely one that we'll probably consider when we get to the end of this video. All right, now number 2, just gonna go in order. This is Fantastic Four number 49. Now this is the first full appearance of Galactus, second appearance of Silver Surfer, first cover appearance of both Silver Surfer and Galactus. My personal favorite Silver Surfer book, and one of my favorite books of all time. Just, I love the cover, an incredible cover. Now, the grade I looked at for this one was also a CGC 4.5. Most common grade is actually a 5.0, but it had a more recent 4.5 sale. Now, the price a year ago was just $775. Current price is about $1,300, with the record at $1,560 on November 14th. So actually pretty recently. So this book is up 68% from this time last year, almost the same as issue 48, and down about 17% from its high. Now, I did look at a few other grades as well for this one, and there are some other grades that are down a little bit more, closer to that 30% mark. So it is following a very similar trend to issue 48, down from those highs, up about 70% from this time last year. Now, the thing is, I don't really see an uptrend with this book right now. I was seeing kind of a returning uptrend with issue 48, but not quite with this one. So it's possible this one could continue to fall a little bit more. And one other thing that's kind of interesting to note between issues 48 and 49, at least historically, high grades of 49 sold for more than high grades of 48, even though the lower and mid grades of 48 sold for more. And the reason for that is because of the census. There are a lot less high grade copies of 49 than there are of 48. And that has caused the prices of at least in the past, of 49 to be much higher in those high grades. Now, the reason, my understanding is that there was a warehouse find of issue 48 at some point in the past, meaning someone found basically like boxes of untouched, undistributed copies of Fantastica Four 48. And so that kind of flooded the higher grade census for that book. But that hasn't happened with issue 49, and that's why those ones are more rare in those higher grades. All right, so we've talked about 48 and 49, and we've got, this is basically the biggest trilogy of any Marvel book, any Marvel run, and so we've got to talk about issue 50. And so this is the final part of that 3-part trilogy. It's the first solo Silver Surfer cover, and then you've got, obviously, the next appearances, so third appearance of Silver Surfer, second full appearance of Galactus. Now, this book is quite a bit more affordable than issues 48 and 49. The grade I looked at was a CGC 7.0. Price a year ago was $750. Current price just about $950, with the record being $1,399 in October of 2021. So again, pretty recently it had that high. Now, it's up just 27% from this time last year, down 32% from its high. So this is a book that looks very interesting to me. It hasn't had those moves that 48 and 49 have had. And while yes, it's not as popular of a book as those other two, it seems undervalued for that, because most people, if they're buying issues 48, they're going to want issues 49 and 50 as well. They want that trilogy to be put together. And maybe it's not quite as much demand for issue 50, but you have a lot of demand to put together that group of 3 books. All right, so for number 4, we're going to move out of the Fantastic Four run, and we're going to go to Silver Surfer number 1. Now, this is the first Silver Surfer solo series, and this is also the origin of the Silver Surfer. It's a great cover. It's this black cover. It's a square-bound book. It can be tougher to get in high grade. I think it's the first 5 issues from that run that are square-bound, and they get a lot of spine splits, like you saw with that Fantastic Four Annual number 2. It's what happens with a lot of those books. Now, the grade I looked at, the most common grade is a 7.0. The price a year ago was $1,250. The current price is $1,950. This is not a cheap book. Its record back in July of 2021 was $2,700. So this book saw a big spike in prices over this last year. But it's retreated some from there, and so right now it's up 56% from this time last year, down 28% from its high. So if you've watched some of my other videos where I talked about this, what I've really been looking for are books that are down around 30% from their high, and this one is close, down 28%, and not up all that much compared to a lot of other keys that we've talked about. Only up 56%, down 28% from its high. This is a very interesting book to me right now in terms of something that you might want to go after, because it seems like this one may be a little undervalued at this point. All right, now there are other books that I could talk about here, but the one I'm going to focus on is Silver Surfer number 4. Now, I'm not talking about issue 3, because really the key aspect of that one is Mephisto, first appearance of Mephisto, whereas Silver Surfer number 1, that's focused on, Silver Surfer, Silver Surfer number 4, the next one, number 5 that I'm going to talk about, is focused on Silver Surfer. It's a classic cover with him battling Thor. And it is one of the best covers of the Silver Age. A lot of people would probably argue it is the best cover of the Silver Age. Just a classic. Just a classic cover of him fighting Thor on the Rainbow Bridge. And the grade I looked at, same grade that I looked at for Silver Surfer number 1, a CGC 7.0. Price a year ago was $1,100. The current price is $1,550. It goes for almost the same as issue number 1, but it's generally been just a little bit more affordable. Now, the record was $2,055 back in May. So this is another one. It's up just 41% from this time last year, down 25% from its high. Definitely a book that is interesting to look at right now in terms of value. Now, the reason I kind of like issue 1 more is issue 1 is more of a key. It's got that origin. You're getting the origin of the character. Issue 4 is 100% a cover buy. That is why you were buying that book. It's not something that has, quite as much draw to it as some type of actual key from inside of the book. All right, now number 6, and this is one of the other books that I showed in this video, in the unboxing, and that is Tales to Astonish number 93. Now, the reason I put this one on here is it is the first Silver Surfer crossover. It is also just a classic battle cover with him and the Hulk. I also looked at a CGC 7.0 with this. The price a year ago, now this one is way more affordable than any of the other books that I've talked about. For 7.0, price a year ago was $250. Current price is about $425 with a record of $575 in June of last year. So this one, again, it's up about 70% from this time last year, down 26% from its high. This is a very similar trend that you're seeing with a lot of these Silver Surfer keys. They got very overheated last year as people were just hoping that you were going to see Galactus and Silver Surfer in some capacity with the Fantastic Four. And because even if we are going to see them, it's probably going to be a while, things start to cool off as people focus on other areas, other speculation areas like Amazing Spider-Man, all the stuff that's going on with him, Doctor Strange, then you've got Ant-Man, you have all these other things that are going to happen before the Fantastic Four, and there's not even a guarantee that you're going to have these characters with the Fantastic Four in that first movie. And so you could definitely potentially see prices come down in this, and it's not a surprise that we've seen some retreat in the prices for these books. All right, now the last one that I'm going to talk about, this one is a little more, I'll say, obscure or speculative, and this is number 7. This is Fantastic Four Annual number 5. Now, the reason I have this one for Silver Surfer is that this is the first Silver Surfer solo story. Now, like I said, it's a little more obscure, but it also has kind of a multi-key aspect to it. It is the first appearance of a character called Psycho Man. Again, this was one of those books that when I did that video with Bry's Comics quite a few months ago, one of the things I commented on with this book was that in the last Ant-Man movie, when they were getting out of the quantum realm, people have done a slowdown, and you saw this tiny city in the quantum realm. And so what I was speculating was that the character Psycho Man might be involved in that in some way. And so that was a character that I thought has a potential to show up in the next Ant-Man movie. And so I think this book, it's that Silver Surfer solo story, but it also has this extra key aspect to it with the first appearance of Psycho Man, and that could be something that ends up showing up in the next Ant-Man movie, and that could be something that spikes the value of this book. Not long term, I wouldn't see that being a long-term value changer for this book, but a short-term thing that you could potentially see when that movie comes out. Now, we'll have to see if that comes true, but just something that I've speculated on with that. Now, actually the most common grade for this book is a 9.4, because it hasn't carried much value until very recently, and so people were only grading really high grade copies of it. So at a 9.4, the price a year ago was $500. Its current price, $1,600. It just recently had a sale at $1,600, so it is way up. It is up 220% from this time last year. It is at its peak. It is not down from its high. So this book is just it is on a bit of a tear recently. Now, I did check some lower grades. Like I looked at a 6.5, and that's had almost identical performance. It's up about 200% over the last year, from $100 to $300, and it had a peak sale just this year of $305. So it's following similar trends in all grades. This book is way up right now, and so it's possible that other people are speculating similarly to me, and so that's what's maybe caused some moves in this book. All right, so with that, let's put all of these together. I've got a chart that I've combined all the data. I'll put these together, and we'll see which ones look like they are the most undervalued, the ones that you might want to pick up right now. And in reality, it's almost all of them. I mean, they've all performed so similarly that it's tough for me to not, at least in some capacity, recommend all these books. Now, there are two that I think look like they're better buys than the others, and that's Fantastica Four 50, because that one just is barely up at all, up 27% from this time last year. The only one that crossed that 30% threshold that I've been looking for, down 32% from its high. So the number one recommendation I have that looks undervalued is Fantastica Four 50. Then the second one would be Silver Surfer number 1. It is almost at that 30% threshold, down 28%. Just up 56% from its high. So yes, Silver Surfer 4 is up a little less, but like I said, I like the key aspect of Silver Surfer 1 a little bit more. You have that origin story that goes with it. So first pick is Fantastica Four 50, second pick Silver Surfer 1. But then I've got 3 on there that I have in a lighter shade of yellow. And so that's Fantastica Four 48, Silver Surfer 4, and Tales to Astonish 93. So they've all performed relatively similarly, are all down around 25% from their high. And so to me, what this shows is you've got a lot of options for this character. All these books have performed pretty much the same over the last year. You've had similar gains and you've had similar pullbacks. And so that means that if you want to invest in this character, if that's something that you're interested in with this, then you have a lot of price ranges that you could work in. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on a Fantastica Four 48. You could go spend a few $100s on a Tales to Astonish 93, and you would see approximately the same performance with that book as these other books have had. And so in terms of performance, you have a lot of options there for this character. Now, I didn't highlight Fantastica Four Annual number 5 because that book up 200%. I mean, that's like the peak of what we saw during kind of the hype of last year with comics. And so I can't in good conscience recommend that book at these prices right now, even if it goes up more. I mean, that one's up a lot. The other one, Fantastica Four 49, it just seems like that one maybe is going to continue down a little bit more. It got really, really hot earlier this year. And so if you get it for a good deal, obviously, I picked up one. I felt like it was a great deal, so there's always exceptions, but at least at fair market value right now, probably a book I would maybe just wait a little bit longer and see if you can get a better deal. If it goes up, that's what happens. You know, if there's some announcement about Silver Surfer or something, these are gonna shoot up. But at least that is the one out of these that looks like maybe it has a little more room to drop. But lots of options across multiple titles: Fantastica Four, Silver Surfer, Tales to Astonish. So there's plenty of books out there that are, in my opinion, good potential options right now that look like they're a good value for Silver Surfer. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video, saw some cool books. You know, again, I'm super excited about this one. Just such an incredible, rare book. You know, I always like showing these books, since I know for me, that's what really got me into a lot of these different books, was seeing other people post those on places like Instagram. So just seeing books I didn't even know were out there. So that's why I like talking about and sharing these books. Also, if you're looking to get into some Silver Surfer books, it looks like now might be a pretty good time to start buying into those books. They've come down quite a bit from their highs, and a lot of them really aren't up all that much compared to a lot of other keys that we've seen from other titles, other runs. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. I've got more videos over here if you'd like to watch some of my other videos, and the subscription button right here. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.